the Pod Network Entertainment.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, a.k.a. Austin Creed.
Welcome to the big time!
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
You know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Hello, my name is Ilja Dragunov, the star.
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You're listening to the longest-running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C, Romoran, Chino Liao, and Emile Nate checking in on a very action-packed Monday. Wow, what a weekend! And we're not just talking about picks of the week. It seems like every weekend ang dami ng eksplosibong balitang just changing our landscape in the world of wrestling. So we have to start with the biggest news of the weekend, and that is that AEW has landed the services of one Adam Copeland. The Rated R superstar is officially all elite, and now the big question is, sino nang sasagot kapag narinig natin to?
There are like three choices now.
Yeah.
Instant reactions, guys. It's been a few
Adam?
hours since it happened. Let's start with you, Chino. Instant reaction.
It is definitely a big get for AEW. Edge or Adam Copeland is somebody who I never expected to jump ship from the WWE, but we live in a different time now, I guess. And siguro 11 years before, had he not gotten injured, or how many ever years before, had he not gotten injured, siguro he would have stayed a company man with the WWE, diba? Pero as we know, na-injure siya, he had to take all that time off, then made his big comeback. And I think like Adam Copeland is at the point of his career where he's just exploring, kind of like Bryan Danielson, just exploring, trying to see what else is out there before he hangs up his boots.
Yeah.
You know, so if that's what he wants to do, then I'm all for it, because there are also matchups in AEW that I would love to see FKE Edge in, diba?
Yeah.
This matchup with Christian, the current Christian right now, is pretty interesting. But then again, you also have a lot of potential for other matchups as well. And it's also going to be interesting to see if he's able to keep up with the type of wrestling AEW is putting out there. Yung mas mabilis na pace, yung not so much on the storytelling, longer matches even. So it'll be interesting to see how he holds up in that field.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Emile, kagigising mo lang. You were telling me over the DMs that was literally the first thing you saw upon waking up. Kamusta naman?
Yeah, kasi nagising ako actually to watch the main event. But I was still kind of, inaantok pa ako, nakatulog ako. Yung pagising ko, nakita ko na si Edge spearing Nick Wayne. So I literally missed when he made his entrance. And it feels so bad. I was watching it live, so I can't go back in it. Pero pinanood ko na siya ulit. And, it's kind of shocking to me na, like, the only thing that he didn't bring over to AEW was his name. Pero, like, that's the same guy that we saw in his previous run in the WWE, kasi usually with guys switching over, usually there's something different. Like when Bryan Danielson came over, like his presentation, his mannerisms, hindi siya yung Daniel Bryan na napanood natin sa WWE. But with this one, I feel like this is parang crossover, parang feel ko naging crossover siya, na this guy who we just saw weeks ago had this quote unquote final match in Toronto.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, diba? And now he's doing this on another company, which was it's really cool to see. And I'm just excited for what he's gonna do, kasi up until that point, I never really thought Edge was gonna be in another wrestling company not named WWE, kasi all our lives, or at least all my wrestling life, Edge is a WWE guy. So I'm very very excited to see what the future holds for Adam Copeland. And yun, first program, ayan na, may saktong program na with his friend Christian, and they're gonna cook. I feel like they're gonna cook with whatever it is that they're gonna do in the next, I don't know, 3 months. They could stretch this out until Revolution next year.
Yeah, it's Edger and the Birdman going at it once again. So if you're a fan of the ENC pod, you know. Ro, you and I have been Edge heads for quite a long time, and I think aligned naman tayo na we go where Edge is happy, diba? Like whatever makes him feel at ease, especially now that he's about to turn 50. He's basically going on this last dance farewell run, much like our boy Bryan Danielson. So do you want to get into your feelings on the whole matter?
Yeah, sure. Pero my feelings are consistent on this. Like Chino said it well, actually. He wants to, do whatever he wants to do, fill out, check out the bucket list, items on the bucket list that he hasn't checked out yet. People will say, no, you never thought Edge would, leave WWE. A lot of people will say that. But also I didn't think that, because a lot of people aren't like us. They haven't been in the game. Like, who know firsthand that anything can happen when it comes to these industries, when it comes to these leagues, these sports. Like, I never expected I'd be working for MWF. If you asked me 5 years ago, diba? Full time, I had been booked there. But these things happen all the time. Like, I don't know how you can follow pro sports and not, and not be aware of the possibility that your favorite player on his long-term team may one day move to another team, diba?
I mean, to be fair, 5 years ago, wala pa naman din AEW. Diba?
Yeah, exactly.
So hindi mo din pwede sabihin na lilipat siya ng TNA or ng...
But even Jericho kind of laid the groundwork. Siya yung unang WWE lifer who took the big jump, or made the big jump of going to New Japan, and that really changed the game. I think Chris Jericho was the big catalyst here.
And before Jericho, and before, Chino did say before AEW, before Jericho. I mean, his buddy Christian did the same thing already. Like,
that's right,
15 years ago, or
Kurt Angle,
18 years ago, back in 2005. Yeah. So these are things that have happened before, and I don't understand why people are so surprised. Like, can we really expect loyalty? And is loyalty really that important that when you have dreams to fulfill, when you have items to check off the list, right? If you have possibilities you wanted to explore, like, Stan said, we're happy wherever Edge goes, and that was tying back to what I said last week about the releases. Now, if you're fans of these people who are leaving the coop in WWE, then shouldn't the mindset be to follow where they go instead of lamenting the fact that they're no longer in this company that you are used to watching? Diba? Parang,
what if I'm an older fan and I don't have enough time to follow 2 or more wrestling companies?
I mean, weigh your
if you are a WWE fan because of Edge, then natural instinct will dictate na susundan mo si Edge sa AEW. Diba?
Weigh your priorities in fandom. Exactly what Chino said. If you like this person, if you like Edge, if you like Ali or whatever, if you like Edge, go to where Edge is. And if Edge was the guy that was keeping you watching, or the idea of Edge being back anytime soon was keeping you watching, I'm not saying that obviously that's everyone watching WWE. Then that's the whole point of people moving. They want you to go where they go. And it's just sad we're still caping for one team and the other. So I don't know, it's 2023 and with all the wrestling on the internet. Yung pa rin yung
I think that just helps contextualize Ro's tweet from earlier where he said, and I quote, "Now I have to hear from the WWE casuals and fanboys who didn't want Edge to jump ship."
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, like, I hear people who say they don't want Edge to move because they want Edge to stay in one place. But kung hindi na siya masaya doon, kung mas masaya siya sa ibang lugar, diba? Why wouldn't that be a reason to support him and his quote-unquote future endeavors, right? Like,
may sinabi si Kenny Omega over the weekend where can you make a point of something so poignant, and I want to quote it here.
Go.
Yung sinabi niya was, I can't believe I know it's hard for people to understand, but we live in a wrestling world now where people are actually happy when your friend moves to another company. Diba? Hindi sila nagbe-bet against one another na parang, oh, ba't mo kami iniiwan? Nobody in his circle at least feels that way. So parang ganda lang din ng statement niya relating to what Ro was saying. Kasi even the wrestlers themselves don't feel this animosity of jumping ship, diba? So why should we as fans feel na parang, oh, bali si Edge kasi lumipat siya ng AEW?
And to contextualize further, and there are some people who will say, "No, I don't like how AEW does their wrestling, so I don't support, or I don't really want to see my favorite WWE stars go over there, and vice versa." And I think these people don't also think about the fact that what if, Edge being there makes the place better, and kind of eliminates a little bit of what you don't like about it, diba? But like that's what Bryan Danielson did for AEW. I think he slowed some of the story. He slowed some of the wrestling down. It's not as car crashy anymore. So I don't understand the reluctance to not see at least what it would mean for the new place and for the person moving as well. So yun lang naman. I don't mean to offend if you are not if you're not a rabid hater of the other company, diba? Yun lang naman. It's just really I dislike hearing it when people put down the move as though the wrestler was beholden to them by staying in the place they loved watching. That's what I really don't like. Na akala the wrestler owes the fans this loyalty to the company.
May mini essay na pinublish si Edge sa Twitter and on Instagram as well. And I recommend that everybody read it. Medyo mahaba siya, so I'm not going to quote it word for word. But I hope it helps you realign the way that you look at wrestling and wrestling fandom and the way that we follow promotions. And to just go back on something that Chino and Ro already pointed out. If, let's say, you're a bit older than us on the podcast. Kami ni Ro, we're in our early 30s, Chino in his late 30s. Let's say you're older than us. Let's say you only have time to only follow... Let's say you only have time to follow 2 hours of wrestling a week. You don't have to watch the entirety of Raw or SmackDown. Pick and choose what you want. That's what episodes like this, Picks of the Week, are for. Pick whoever you want to follow in either company. It doesn't matter, man. Sobrang dami ng wrestling ngayon. You can follow Edge's adventures in AEW and still follow Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn's adventures on Raw.
To that point, that's why I write my reviews the way I write them nowadays. I tell you what you should make time for, because nobody is realistically gifted enough with free time to watch everything. You're not like I don't even have that much free time myself. So I tell you which is to me worth watching, and then that could change for you. But at least there's a recommendation of what to save a little time for.
Yeah. So yun. I just feel like there's so much complaining then from people who are like, oh man, Edge should have been in WWE forever. But like, I'd rather just be happy na Edge got to come back to begin with, and that he gets to finish his own story the way that he wants. Now, whether or not that creates problems for AEW kasi ang dami ng Adam sa kanila, the same way na ang daming Page at Cage sa kanila, problema na nila yun, diba? But like, I think it's good kasi if you are just an Edge fan, then maybe you'd want to follow him to AEW, and then maybe you'd actually like what AEW is, right? And I say this as someone who works for the other company. So, if I think it's healthy for the business. I think it's healthy for the industry as a whole whenever a big name like Edge makes a move like this, kasi it does change the landscape of everything. So, I support Adam Copeland here. I'm really happy for him, and I wish him all the best, because this is such a huge, huge step forward for the industry as a whole. Now, let's get to some questions here. Obviously, with this huge news that Edge or Adam Copeland is now in AEW, you got Jade Cargill signing with WWE just last week. Who won the trade? And we say this with air quotes. Kasi diba, WWE lost Edge, AEW lost Jade Cargill. It essentially became a 1-for-1 trade, if you will. So, Emile, let's start with you, given the sports comps. Who won the trade here?
Okay, so I was thinking about it early as well, and I want to say maybe WWE won this trade, but just by a little bit, kasi Edge is still a Hall of Famer, and the way I look at this, again, comparing it to the sports, so I would understand it a little bit easier. It's like trading someone who di naman past his prime, pero he already did his thing for someone who's much younger, has a lot of potential, pero hindi natin sure if mapufulfill niya yung potential niya. But the potential is there. The ceiling is high for this prospect, and the ceiling is high for Jade Cargill. I mean, if she isn't touted to be that good eventually, WWE wouldn't bother to do all of these promotions that they've been doing for her. Di ba nga siya debut, pero they've been already featuring articles on TV about her. So yun lang, yun yung deciding factor ko dun. I feel like WWE has a lot more mileage with Jade Cargill than, I mean, Edge, he's like what, magpi-50 na din siya. I think he's also on his farewell tour if he is indeed retiring the next couple of years. So I think WWE, but just by a bit. I go with WWE here.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Chino, who won the trade?
I am going to say that depending on how you look at it, and how I look at it at least, parang pantay lang sila because they're on different directions at this point. WWE and AEW. AEW is looking to bring back all the lapsed fans, all the people who said, we missed the wrestling of old, or this is what wrestling is supposed to be, diba? That's why they put all their money on CM Punk. Kasi kala nila yun yung secret of success. Diba? They called in the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega to attract all the indie heartthrobs, right? And that's their market, and that's fine. But at the same time, WWE, we can see from how they're building out their rosters on NXT that they are backing themselves on young talent, on talent that has at least 10 years down the road, diba? Talent that has a lot of potential. Yung hindi yung gaspang na nasa indies, sorry to use the term, but like yung talent that they can actually build upon and create and mold in their own WWE image. And for each company, those approaches, they work, diba? For better or worse, they work. So I'd say now with the WWE, Jade Cargill is able to reshape in her future by gaining more experience from an established commodity. And with Edge in AEW, nakukuha ni Tony Khan yung vintage na hinahanap niya whenever he has a new signing on board. So I'd say quits lang sila.
Mm-hmm. Ro?
Well, the correct answer really is Chino's. Sorry, yung quits lang sila. Pero, kasi it depends on yan, yeah. It depends on what you need. And I think AEW won that. I think AEW won with Edge because Edge is a proven commodity. And to me, as a wrestler, I think the biggest need AEW has is not the talent. It's definitely not the people who they put in front of the camera or running the show, but they need a fucking adult in the room. And Adam Copeland will be that adult in the room. He is what, a 30-year veteran at this point. And surely, and he says he's going to be a presence every week. He's a 3 months out kind of guy, like he was in his last run in WWE. So with that in mind, I hope that he can diffuse whatever explosive situation will arise in an AEW locker room. That is really the one thing that gets in AEW and Tony Khan's way in their success. So I hope this creates some peace and order in the locker room, and that inevitably will turn into their greater success as a company.
So parang ito rin yung sinasabi ni Tony Khan, diba, na it will be the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. So I guess this is effectively AEW transitioning from the CM Punk era to the Adam Copeland era, right? Which is what we're getting right now.
Not a bad era to be in.
I'd say, that's right.
Kung ipapalit mo lang kay CM Punk's Edge, then I'll take it, you know?
I think any company would take it, right? It's a hell of a swap, a hell of an upgrade. And Tony Khan swung for the fences and really bought the entire package. Everything from Edge's presentation to Metalingus, he actually spent for Alter Bridge, which is great because the only thing that really feels different, other than not hearing the name Edge, is the voice tag na you think you know me. It's clearly a different voice, but at this point, can we all really complain, diba? it's still basically the same guy, just under a different name.
Sana
Ito,
binili
Chino.
lang niya yung, sana binili din niya yung Edge, diba? What's an extra billion for TK? He already bought
That's true.
everything.
But
Yeah,
again,
I did.
the
Sana sinama
Edge.
na niya yung Edge.
Yeah, I agree.
Nandun na
He
rin
should
na
have
eh,
spent
diba?
for that.
Oh.
Eto, Chino, let me ask you, since you're the one who's old enough to have remembered the Monday Night Wars, ganito rin ba yung feeling whenever these big names jumped ship from one company to the other? Kasi
Oh, yeah,
kami, hindi namin nabutan yun eh.
Yeah, definitely. I remember yung panels themselves on TV would talk shit about the other show. Alam ka intense yun, diba? There was no... Yeah, you watch it back, you'll hear Tony Schiavone call WWE crap because Mick Foley was about to win the title.
Yeah.
That was a thing actually recorded in the Monday Night Wars. So, nangyayari talaga yan. And I get that that's where the animosity mostly comes from with these two companies kasi people make a one-for-one comparison of the Monday Night Wars then to these current wars we're having now. But it's such a different time now. People can just jump ship. People can make a name out, wrestlers can make a name out of for themselves in any company they're in. It's just a matter of the drive that they have or whatever. So ako hindi ko na-miss yung competitiveness, yung toxicity ng time na yun. But
Really?
But I appreciate the content. It's a nice thing to be in, but I don't miss all the negativity that came with it.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah.
So, it's such an interesting wrestling world to be in, where free agency is real and you actually feel it. And unlike the NBA, this is happening all year round. Anyone can just show up in the other company, and it will be such a huge seismic shift. So, with that being said, is Edge Tony Khan's biggest get? Anyone can start.
Before that, I wanted to address some Chino's quick point because I was listening to After the Bell. Corey Graves and Kevin Patrick's podcast. It's technically the official WWE podcast because it recaps the goings on. And syempre, they did last week's episode just as the news about Jade broke. So Corey Graves was forced to read it on air, and then he was forced to talk about Jade. The difference here, Chino said na toxic dati nung Monday Night Wars in the 90s. But the difference here is that Corey Graves actually put over Jade as a big deal from the other place. So parang he acknowledges that if you've seen Jade before in AEW, then you know how big of a deal she is. So in a way, he indirectly put over AEW na rin and how they handled Jade. So that is interesting to watch. So he could have easily said, no, she went over from that dump and moved to greener pastures. But they didn't say any of that. So that's pretty cool of them. And I hope that ganito yung magiging competition. Okay, you can one up the other, but don't make it toxic and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
I agree. So sige, going back to the question, is Edge Tony Khan's biggest get?
I would say yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Emile. Go.
Definitely. He's the biggest star na nakuha nila because before Edge, you could argue it was CM Punk or Bryan Danielson. But at yung time kasi nila, they were naging sikat sila when you could argue na the WWE's popularity wasn't as high as when Edge was at his prime. So mas madaming nakakilala kay Edge. And for him to establish himself in AEW, you're gonna have a lot of eyes in that product just because of that name recognition. Now, this guy used to be, the superstar on the WWE, and now he's on AEW. So there's going to be a lot of new viewers, I think, with Edge going over to AEW. So I'd say yes, he's the biggest get by far.
I would also agree. I'd say one, if not the biggest, and one off definitely. You got your Bryan Danielsons and John Moxley's in there, diba? Because those guys left the company at the top of their game. Diba? Si Edge, while not necessarily at the top, still had a lot of pedigree going for him. Yung career, yung tenured career into WWE. So that's at least saying something. And he brings all of that to the table by moving to AEW.
I would say the biggest get since Chris Jericho himself. Kasi definitely not the biggest get since Christian. So sorry, Christian. But,
definitely.
I was racking my brain as to who was bigger or as big as Edge, and it was really just Jericho. Yep. So this is like, what do you mean, bakit?
Bakit si Jericho parang on the same level, or if not more than Edge?
Oh no, same level. Not more than Edge, but almost more than Edge, but same level. Because Jericho is one of the living legends that they have on the roster. Big deal in the 2000s and the 90s. Same thing said. I mean, literally, they walked the same career path. He and Edge. I mean, they even became tag team champions together. So, I would say that if Jericho wasn't around, Edge would definitely have been the biggest get. Pero kasi Jericho has been in the company since day one. So I guess if you were to say na biggest free agent signing off of the other company, fresh off the other company, if you will, then definitely Edge. Because he is the biggest name that they've got that can draw in all the mainstream fans. Like, Chino said, Laps fans, that's him. Edge can get that. Because they'll say, like they did with Jericho, oh, Edge is still wrestling and he's not in WWE anymore. So he's here now. And if you ever wanted to see Edge, then you can find him in AEW. Some people will not like that because there are still Edge haters the same way there are Jericho haters. Pero it's still the biggest entity that Tony Khan got.
Yeah, to that point, I will maintain yung sinabi ko kanina that Chris Jericho really legitimized AEW. Like, if he did not get in bed with Tony Khan and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, then none of this would happen. So, that being said, he really did open the floodgates for the Bryans and the Moxes and even the Punks and the Edges of the world to make that move to AEW. So, napakalaking bagay talaga nito. I just want to close this Edge conversation on the note that it's so weird that WrestleMania 37 was only 2.5 years ago, and now 2/3 of that main event, that epic, thrilling main event, they're now in AEW.
Roman Reigns the only one who would top Edge would be Roman Reigns.
Yung pag lumipat si Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that would be
Joe
it.
Anoa'i.
Joe Anoa'i is all elite.
The keys.
The moment that happens, my God.
That would be the day. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get to our picks of the week. But first, a quick word from our other podcasts on the Pod Network. All right, that was a lot to talk about. Understandably so, kasi nga napakalaking balita na si Edge is now part of AEW. But we've got picks of the week to get to. So we're going to start with Chino's.
Yes, technical wrestling from our local shores is my pick of the week for this week, obviously. It's from FPW Astig episode 3. Now, this is the first time we're talking about FPW. So if you want a deeper insight, let me know and I can do like a one-on-one review for you guys. So me talking about FPW for the past 3 episodes. But for this particular episode, if focus ko is the matchup between Ralph Imabayashi, who's going by his full name now again, versus the newcomer in Duke Ortega. Now, Duke Ortega is somebody who you have seen in different garbs during the pre-pandemic wrestling days. But he has since retired those yellow tights and refashioned himself into a hard knocks shooter type of person, like an amateur wrestler background type of character. And it absolutely works for him because he went through a body transformation, also a sort of wrestling style transformation. He calls himself the Duke of Shoot, if you're not familiar, and and his offense is very mat based, very power based as well. In this matchup against a guy who calls himself the best pure wrestler in the Philippines, so it's a good matchup of styles. Kasi Duke Ortega is forced to step out of his comfort zone, and they're able to match up very effectively. And I like this because out of all the matches that FPW have put out on their YouTube channel, I think it's the slowest matches that you'll see. A lot of mat work, a lot of holds, counter holds, submission, not a lot of spots, not even a lot of slams. But when it does happen, it's very well placed. And that's why I like this for my pick of the week.
Oh yeah, this was I watched this earlier as well. I was surprised of how long this match was. This was when I looked at the time, the match started at around near the 20-minute mark, and I thought meron pang isang match after that. Kasi usually, I've seen other episodes. There's usually 3 matches or 2. I've seen one with 3, so usually ganon. So I thought, okay, it's gonna be either a quick 10 to 12 or minute at max. And then I was surprised. I was looking at the timer and natapos yung match, halos patapos na yung episode. So it was a good technical match. I like seeing technical matches. Very very much different from what we are usually seeing on the the TV the TV wrestling. Again, more on ground game, submission game, so I like that. So first time as well seeing Duke Ortega in action. I'm impressed of what I saw, and it's been a long time since I last saw a Rafael Wambayashi match. They did really good in this match. I liked it. I liked it for what it is. A very very mat based technical match. It could have been a little bit shorter because again 20 minutes. That's a long time for a technical match. Gusto ko mga at least 15 at most mga 15 lang. Pero nonetheless, aside from that, it was a I'd also recommend this if you want to see some technical action. So this was a really good match and good choice, Chino.
I can't comment much on this. I did want to say something. I can't comment much on this because I'm still involved in the local scene. But I just wanted to say that my boy Duke Ortega looks really, really good out there, and he really stood out in this match and carried himself well. So congrats, Duke, on this performance.
I have nothing to say, so let's move on to Emile's pick from Raw this past week.
All right, so my pick comes from Raw this week. Dragon Lee versus the former North American champion, Dirty Dominik Mysterio, for the North American Championship. So I think I can say this from watching Dom's career from when he debuted until now. This is his best match. So, like, as of right now, this is his best match, and it tells me of how much he really improved over the last year, ever since joining the Judgment Day, and also it proves that Dragon Lee is really one of the best luchadors in the world. Because it was a great showcase. For those who haven't seen Dragon Lee in action, this is pretty much what you expect from him. A lot of high flying, a lot of hard hitting action. Again, he's one of the low-key best wrestlers down there in NXT, and the fact that he got to show that in front of a worldwide audience, even though he has already main evented big events from his previous promotions, but this is really the first time that he's been featured on an audience on Raw, diba? And had one of the best matches in his Raw debut. So it bodes well, I think, for his future run in the main roster. And Dominik has come a long way from being a white meat babyface to someone who shined so much brighter as a heel. He's a Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio is one of the best baby faces ever. But with Dominik, he does so much better right now as a heel. And this North American title reign gave him opportunity to go up against guys like Dragon Lee, Mustafa Ali, yung mga seasoned na veterans na talaga, and you can see na nakakasabay
could have added siya. Wesley para tatlo na.
Wesley, yun, di ba?
The Lee family.
Ito yung rhyme mo.
Yeah.
Wrestling is more than one royal family.
Oh, and we thought AEW was the only naming problem in the company.
Yeah. And yung reign niya had nothing but positive reviews from all across. Massive props as well to the crowd for being hot the entire match. Yeah, they really helped. And I wish they could have run it back to No Mercy, but Trick Williams got the win, and so I don't mind it. So I wish Dom could stay more in NXT, not just for this title reign. He could stay there for a while and really cook there and really establish himself down there at NXT. But with this was a really good match on Raw, and one of the best. I actually put this on I have a thread of the best matches of 2023. So I put it in there. So go check this match out.
After watching this, Dragon Lee versus Dirty Dom, is Dragon Lee ready for the main roster, even though he hasn't really been with the company for like a year yet?
He's already coming back. Diba? He's already booked for another show on SmackDown, diba?
Yeah, but is he ready to be a regular fixture on a Raw or a SmackDown?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Go Chino. Go ahead.
No, ako yes, definitely. Because coming in to NXT was more of a formality for Dragon Lee. He's already had his tenure in the other companies, diba? Nag-New Japan na siya, and he did all his touring around Mexico and the States. So, doon pa lang established na siya eh. When they signed him to NXT, it was actually a big get. I remember popping when I saw the news. Diba? I did. It was one of those kind of signing. So at least dito and then staying in NXT, letting him marinate, and letting him develop a little bit more of that edge that he has now, actually just helped his character and his wrestling persona grow a little bit more. This matches with Dominik Mysterio prove na kaya niya magdala ng match in a big arena. He's able to just be so diverse in that style that he does so well. And I think he'll have a spot easily in any roster.
Yeah, we talked about this last week on the stream, diba? So I already mentioned that it was his audition and he passed the audition. And like I had implied, he was already booked for another main roster show this week, diba? Was it this week?
Yep.
So it goes to show that he is super comfy out there. Being on the biggest wrestling show every week on TV was nothing to him. And thankfully, the crowd was also really receptive. So, yeah, he's ready. The thing about this is that a lot of fans also don't know or don't remember that when you get to NXT, usually, even now in the Performance Center NIL era, you get there after at least 5 years of experience outside WWE in the independent. So minsan nga 10 years eh. So I don't have the numbers on Dragon Lee right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if he had that much time under his belt. So it's one of those things. Okay, NXT really is just to acclimatize you to the WWE, and then once you're out there, once you get the groove, everything should be easy going for you. So I think it's also a little unfair to ask him if he's ready because you don't get to WWE with that name and not be ready.
No, yeah, that's true. I thought I Googled Dragon Lee. He apparently debuted January 1, 2014.
Oh, so around...
He'll be a 10-year vet in 2 months.
Yeah,
wow.
He's around 8 years when he signed to WWE.
Yeah, because he joined WWE in December 2022. So... really promising stuff. I'm loving what I'm seeing from Dragon Lee. I really hope na after all of WWE's attempts to find and produce the next Rey Mysterio na it's Dragon Lee. Kasi nga, si Rowan, ang laki ng hinanakit niya towards that concept, right? So sana, para sa kakapanatag ng loob ni Rowan,
no,
si Dragon Lee na nga ang maging next Rey Mysterio.
Yeah. Yeah.
But with that being said, man, Dom, we gotta show him props as well. Emile, you said it na kanina. I just want to say it again. Dom makes his opponents look great. He's such a great heel. Yeah. I don't think Dom can mess anything up at this point. Like, he just gets it. And it's one of those benefits when you literally grow up around the business, when you know what to do. And you just have that pedigree, diba? And Dominik Mysterio has that. So he could be the second coming of Eddie Guerrero based on how he's been performing. And that's also something that I've been wanting in my wrestling for the longest time. So I'm really, really happy that this is one of our picks and that we get to show a lot of love to Dirty Dom and Dragon Lee.
A lot of people kind of shit on Dom when he first debuted, but I thought he was really natural in there. And then syempre, it just takes some time to really season you with the live event aspect, especially when he debuted nung Thunderdome era, diba?
Yep.
So he's come around, and I didn't get the initial hate because he is really good at what he does.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to this next pick. This is from Rowan, and he selected the AEW International Championship match between Fenix and Jeff Jarrett. So, sabi ni Rowan, he loves it when title matches are available on TV, especially when they open the show. And sabi niya, obvious naman that Fenix would retain his championship, but he thought that he and Double J had a fun match nonetheless. With the ringside shenanigans and dirty tactics, na-convince siya rather that Jeff Jarrett might actually win. So now, because of that performance from Fenix, he's excited for next week's match, which features Nick Jackson as the contender. He also says he would have preferred someone like Claudio Castagnoli in that spot, but this also works because we rarely see Nick Jackson in a singles match.
Yeah, Fenix is really good. Really great choice then to for John Moxley to no to impromptu drop the championship to. Jeff Jarrett also has to be praised here because that guy doesn't feel like he's in his 50s, 56, diba? So it does not look like that man is 56. So
Ano kaya sekreto niya?
A hot wife, a hot and flexible wife as well. Yeah, Jeff Jarrett looks and feels like he's still wrestling in his 40s, diba? So that's pretty great of him. And for that alone is, I think, praiseworthy on his end. So when he came back to WWE, I think in 2020, was it 2020?
2019?
2019, 2020, yeah.
Yeah. He looked a little out of shape. And then when he left WWE and then jumped to AEW, he looked really, really good. So it's a cliche that's been worn as fuck, but age ain't nothing but a number if you are able-bodied. And the fact that Jeff Jarrett nakasabay siya with the antics of Ray Fenix's lucha stuff goes to show that, maybe we were too harsh on Jeff Jarrett back in the 2000s,
Yeah, yung biggest takeaway ko dito from this match was a point that Ro touched on. Jeff Jarrett nakasabay sa lucha antics ni Ray Fenix because he doesn't even wrestle like that during in the peak of his career. Very team headlocky siya, to borrow a term from our indie friends here. Very WWE style, very storytelling style. Kaya nakita niyo ang daming shenanigans ng match na yun because that's typically part of Jeff Jarrett's character, his persona. It's all about the style, the pomp, the circumstance, everything that makes him Jeff Jarrett. And to add that with Ray Phoenix's lucha flavor is something that I never really expected to mesh so well, but I was actually pleasantly surprised when I was watching this.
Yeah.
Sige,
sorry, go ahead.
So Jeff Jarrett is so good na they entrusted him to have a match with a 73-year-old Ric Flair. So that's how good Jeff Jarrett is. He's safe.
To be fair, Andrade was in the match. So
siya yung katapat ni Ric Flair.
And Jay Lethal as well.
Yeah, but madami sila Emile. It wasn't just
but
Jeff
still,
Jarrett.
he was
If
put in
anything,
there.
you can argue that Jeff Jarrett was the second oldest person.
Still,
great job for leaving that out.
So they entrust him to be in that match. So that must have meant something. At his age, he can still go.
You mean? I think what you mean to say is he was in the match and didn't drag it down further.
That's there. I'm gonna give him props. So props for that.
All right, bago tayo ma-cancel for ageism, mag-move on na tayo to the next pick. And let's talk about younger wrestlers. My pick is from NXT No Mercy, Carmelo Hayes versus Ilja Dragunov, which Emile alluded to his thread earlier of his favorite matches of the year. This one easily made all of our favorite matches of the year. Because holy crap, nagpatayan tong dalawang to. Ilja Dragunov finally becomes NXT champion, but he had to really take Carmelo Hayes to hell and back throughout that entire match. What an ordeal. And watching this, I was getting very scared. Parang Ilja Dragunov is really, up the intensity to 11 once again, and I think we're gonna be getting the same result from the Great American Bash. But thankfully, he was able to pull it off with the 3 H-bombs that increased in height and intensity as it went along. And I really appreciated how Carmelo Hayes looked like he belonged. Because the way that Carmelo Hayes has wrestled, it's very work rate, but not in the intense on the intense level of an Ilja or a Gunther. Hindi yung talagang makikipagpatayan
Hindi siya pumapatay, yes.
Yeah, di ba? Yung work rate ni Carmelo Hayes, yung parang very sophisticated, very technical and technically skilled and all that. So to see Carmelo Hayes go punch for punch with Ilja Dragunov here really made me respect him so much more as a performer. And I'm so relieved that Ilja Dragunov is the champion right now, because if he had lost, I wouldn't have known kung saan siya pupulutin in terms of how to save the character. You know what I mean, diba?
I'm about to say something about that, but I'll let y'all cook first.
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead. Segue off. Tapos na ako. I'm good.
No, kayo na. Kayo muna.
Okay, sige. I like this matchup particularly kasi tulad ng sinabi ni Stan. Carmelo Hayes, hindi siya pumapatay ng tao in the ring. Very flashy, very skill-oriented, and the fact that he was able to step up next to a psychopath in Ilja Dragunov who was just next level. Siguro triple niya yung cocaine bumps niya just for this matchup.
See, I was trying not to say that, Chino.
Just cut it out because, oh my God, sobrang baliw ni Ilja Dragunov nung match na to, and the fact that Melo was able to keep up with that level of intensity, very well done. I was pleasantly surprised. Yes, I actually had Melo taking the belt still, but I mean, after this match, I was so glad that Ilja walked away with it. Well deserved.
Again, a fantastic match. Ilya is so intense. Now I'm convinced he thinks wrestling is real. But that's the way.
Hey,
that's the way.
Ano, wala ka pala nung kinausap namin siya.
Yeah, when you see the intensity in his eyes, the way he reacts nung nag-kick out si Melo after that second H bomb, like wow, that guy. I've been impressed with this guy ever since, pero this one sobra, like and if you notice that yung first match in the Great American Bash, it was more of Melo's style and pace. Yung may mga spots, heavy spots, but this one, Ilya, he set the tone of the match earlier on. Na talagang it was a brutal brawl, and Melo didn't get to his usual spots. He didn't even get to hit his finisher, yung his leg drop.
Nothing but net,
diba? So again, it was so intense. One of the most intense matches I've ever seen. And again, that's credit to Ilya, diba? And Melo as well, na nakasabay siya sa intensity ni Ilja Dragunov.
Before Ro gives his thoughts, another reminder to everyone to go check out our interview with Ilja Dragunov, the new NXT champion.
Friend of the podcast.
Yes, he actually is part of the intro of the show, in case you haven't heard. We talked to him 2 years ago.
We didn't pay for that.
Oh. So go check that out. It's from 2021. A really fun chat with Ilja Dragunov.
Yung UK part out of the intro.
That's fine.
Producer Jasper.
Tawag doon. It's not just because we had him on, but also we want you guys to listen to this interview because he explains his intensity to us. Because we did ask him about that.
Yep.
We asked him why he is the way that he is. And I remember asking him if he was ever afraid of being injured. So
yes.
He explains all that. So I guess we'll link it to you after we end this recording. Right. So yeah, y'all remember Ilja Dragunov versus Walter in 2021 when NXT UK came back. Ever since then, I had been waiting for the next match like it that would come along. And I knew it was going to be from Ilja Dragunov. I didn't know that it wasn't going to be involving Walter. So I also didn't know it was going to be involving someone like Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes is a type of wrestler who was like a Derrick Rose in the ring, acrobatic, agile, mobile. In this match, he was forced to play post in the paint. And he proved that he was able to do that. He was able to get physical in there. And sometimes you just really need to see a wrestler at least once in their lives prove that they can fight. Obviously, Carmelo Hayes can wrestle, but it is such a beauty, a thrill as well to watch him actually fight for his life in there. It's not sustainable as our concern for Ilja Dragunov has shown. It can't always be wrestling like that, but when you are able to bring that stuff out, it is a beauty to watch. So Stan said kanina, di niya alam kung saan pupulutin si Ilja Dragunov if he lost. And when Carmelo Hayes kicked out of the first or second H-bomb, I was starting to feel really bad because okay, shit, it's happening again, Mom. He's gonna lose again, and then at this point, if he lost, there's no place for him to go except for the main roster. So it was a really nice thing to see him finally win. People like to say that he took Carmelo Hayes to his limit, but I also saw it as Carmelo Hayes taking Ilja Dragunov to his limit as well. It really did feel in a lot of ways like that Ilja Dragunov Walter 1 match from NXT UK. And I'm glad that they were able to allow them to have this canvas, to have this opportunity to do that thing, do their thing, and to bring out that struggle once again. Goes to show you. To be fair, I don't think we're ever going to get this kind of match from Dragunov if he ever makes it to the main roster. When he does, I'm sure he will. Even Walter, they don't make him do matches like this that much anymore.
Sorry, parang napasense ko din na parang hindi siya sustainable.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on the road 360 days out of the year, diba?
Exactly.
Tapos 360 days ka mag-resting ng ganun, bugbog ka na eh.
Oo.
Diba?
So yun, to people, if you ever, Emile said it. Ilja Dragunov thinks wrestling is real. I dare to say that to his face as well. But if you think that wrestling always doesn't look real, please watch this match because yun nga, patayan nga. And sometimes that is the entire point of why we do these things and why we watch this sport, this art.
Yeah, it's why we love it, man.
All right. Just a footnote here. Ilja Dragunov just became the second wrestler to be an NXT UK champion and an NXT champion. Yeah.
Following Tyler Bate, that's right.
Yep. Walter didn't even get to do that.
I think it was Braun. Si Braun ba yun?
Braun unified the championship.
Unified. Yeah.
Sorry, Braun pala. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, technically, if we're not counting Braun's unification, then Dragunov is the first. Because Walter didn't even get to do that.
Yes, he did not. All right, Ro, finish us out here with your pick of the week.
Yeah, it's from WrestleDream earlier today. Medyo buzzer beater siya. It is the dream match, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bryan Danielson in the hometown in Seattle, Washington. So this is my pick because this is the kind of wrestling I like. It's exactly what we expected from these two. It's not quite yung really fast world of sports style, fast catch-as-catch-can wrestling that the British love to, the British showed us back in the 80s and 90s. Pero it's one of those things that, okay, we knew what we expected, we knew what we wanted, and we got exactly that. And because it was two of the best technical wrestlers in the world, with one having the actual award named after him, it was excellence in execution. No Bret Hart. So it wasn't quite, I will say that it wasn't quite the dramatic match it was maybe supposed to be because it wasn't the main event. Pero it's everything I could have dreamed of and more. It's the kind of thing that, okay, I feel the itch to go back in the ring and try some of that stuff out because it really just was hitting, and every move, every lock, every hold, every transition was crisp. It was fluid. The entire crowd easily is able to understand what's happening in the ring. Some people might not like it because they think that technical wrestling is slow and dull and boring. But these two are two of the most intense to ever do that kind of wrestling in the ring. And if you don't like it, give this a shot because it really is some of the most digestible wrestling na intense na medyo complex that you'll ever see in the ring. It's just one of those things that lived up to the billing and was surprised that it wasn't a main event.
On that note, were you angry that this was not the main event? Because from the way that WrestleDream was booked and built up, they implied that this match was the main event. And then, lo and behold, it was match number 7 of a 10-match card.
No, because Edge happened. That deserved to be the main event. I think wala namang tatalo dun sa argument na yun.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Emile.
Oh, this was a great match, and this is one of those dream matches na I'm glad that it happened at this point in time of their careers. Now Bryan is still the best, and CSJ is now much more seasoned. He's now much better than he was years ago. Because people were already as early as 2016, people were already saying that they want to see this match. But at that point, CSJ, yes, he's a great technical wrestler, pero at that point, hindi ko pa feel na hinog na siya for someone to go against Daniel Bryan, a main eventer. But now, CSJ had years of NJPW under his belt. He has worked so many G1s, worked so many main events already against the best of the best. This was the perfect time to do it. And it lived up to all the hype, at least for me. It lived up to all the hype. Very technical sounding, very technical match, mat-based as well. And yeah, I liked it. I liked it for the hype that na meron doon coming into that match, they delivered. It was really good.
One thing that hasn't been said yet, which I really loved about this match, was John Moxley on commentary.
Oh, yes,
Like,
yeah,
he
yeah.
added
Yeah, he
so
was-
much
He
value
was so good.
to
Yeah.
this
It was
match.
like
I really
Mario
loved
Liga.
how he explained the way that ZSJ and Bryan would approach
Yeah.
a match like this, and it really added so much texture to the way that Bryan and ZSJ got physical. So that's something that we don't get a whole lot from color commentary. So I wish that I saw this match before I did color commentary last night at MWF, for example.
Oh God, Jesus fuck Christ!
Sobrang
I was so glad that he did not fuck around with the commentators because that's exactly what you did yesterday.
Yes, that is what I did yesterday. But yung ginawa ni Mox, sobrang ganda because he was adding to the logic of why they were doing what they were doing, but he would also take time to yell, "Fuck this guy! Give him hell!" or like, "Make him eat shit!" Like, gumaganon siya.
Yeah.
Sobrang nakakatawa lang talaga. So, very on-brand pa rin for the John Moxley character, which was just chef's kiss. Sobrang value-adding to an already wonderful match.
Pero it has to be noted that there were 4 people in the booth for that match.
Yeah.
So
Yun lang,
that
yun
was
lang.
so-
But Majera was so silent throughout that match for some reason, right?
Yeah, kasi apat na sila dun eh.
Someone has to stay quiet, man.
Yeah.
Someone had to give, so you know. But yeah, if Mox wants to be a color commentator when his in-ring career is over, he can follow in Bryan's footsteps and put on the headset at some point in time. Because Bryan did that as well.
Yeah.
For the Cruiserweight Classic, which ZSJ was a part of. So,
Yes.
So that's a nice way to tie it back to the guys who were in the ring. I just really loved this match, Bryan and ZSJ. If Edge did not happen, I would have been upset kung hindi ito yung main event nung WrestleDream. So there. Those are our picks. If you like our picks or if you want to add to the conversation, as always, you know where to find us. It is at Wrestling2XPod on TikTok and on Twitter. Individually, you can find us as well and chat wrestling with us. It is at Chino Supersize, at Monday Night Rowan, at EML_Meister, at Rowiswar, and at _StanC. We'll catch you on Thursday for our weekly live stream on Facebook and on YouTube. That's at 7 p.m. as usual. And for those of you who took part in our latest Pasabay run, thank you very much for supporting the business. We hope to have some good updates for you in the next week or two because your orders have actually begun processing now. So we'll be giving you updates as we go along. In the meantime, thank you very much to Babyface producer Jasper and all the other producers over at the Pod Network for the work that they do behind the scenes. And thank you to every listener and follower of the podcast for your support of this show. On behalf of Ro Moran, Chino Liao, and Emile Nate, my name is Stan C. This is another Wrestling Podcast episode in the books. We're out of here. Stay safe, stay healthy, and don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast out. Bye-bye.
Peace.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any